Hi guys, hi, how are y'all? Hope y'all are doing great. Okay, so in this lesson today, we're going to continue still chapter 2, differentiation, but this time we're going to go into turning points and their nature. And if you still remember, your differentiation, actually what you're finding is you're finding the gradient. So even in the previous video, you've already looked at how to find gradient of tangent and gradient of normal. So in this part now, we are going to look at turning points and their nature. Okay, what is actually turning points and how do we see that? Okay, so first of all, we all know that there is two types of graph that you can always draw. Okay, one is you can draw your smiling graph. Okay, so maybe your smiling graph is something, okay, like this. All right, so this is your x, this is your y. If you have a sad graph, it's going to be like this. So here x, here y. So sad graph is like this. Now, having this both graph, where is your dy dx? Because dy dx is your gradient. Okay, this is your function, gradient function. So in this case, our gradient will be where the tangent line passes through. So if let's say the tangent line passes through here, okay, it's a straight line, tangent line. So this is our gradient here, this part and this part. So this is dy dx, and here will be dy dx. Now, if you look carefully here, the dy dx, okay, when you equal your dy dx to 0, you will get the x value. Okay, when you let the dy dx equals to 0, you will get the x value. Now, in our case, when we want to find the turning point, okay, and their nature, it means that you want to know whether it's going to be a minimum point or you want to know whether it's going to be a maximum point. So you have learned this in Form 4. If you have a smiling graph, definitely this point here, okay, is going to be the minimum point. If you have a sad graph, the value up here is going to be the maximum point. Okay, so I hope you guys are clear with that. Now I'm going to go into a question, an example. Okay, so you're given this question now. Find the coordinates. Okay, find the coordinates of the turning point for this curve y equals to 35 minus 4x minus 4x squared. Then you have to determine the nature. The nature means you have to know whether it's minimum or maximum point. Okay, just actually by looking at your equation, we already can know whether this is going to be a sad graph or a happy graph. Okay, how do you know? You have to look at the value of a, right? Okay, so value of a here is negative 4. Okay, when you get this kind of question, the first step, find the gradient, dy dx. Okay, still remember your differentiation? So here we will get negative 4 minus 8x. Okay, done. At the turning point, what do they mean at the turning point? Remember, initially teacher told you that you have to let your dy dx equals to 0, this part, because this is the turning point here. Okay, this part is the turning point. So in this case now, we are also going to let the dy dx equals to 0. Okay, so at turning point, your gradient function dy dx will be 0. So you let the entire negative 4 minus 8x equals to 0. So from here you find your x. So you move the negative 4. So we get negative 8x equals to 4. So x equals to negative 1 over 2. Okay. So up to here, you already get your x value. That means at that point, right, where it's turning, your x is negative 1 over 2. Okay, now we have to find the y because when to find the coordinate means you have to find x and y. You have to find both. So x got ready. Now when x is negative 1 over 2, you substitute this into the function. Okay, the curve function y equals to 35 minus 4 times negative 1 over 2 minus 4 negative 1 over 2 square. Okay, so while we will get 36. Okay, you can calculate, you will get 36. Now, you already get the turning point. Okay, so in this case, your turning point, the coordinates is negative 1 over 2 and 36. Now, whether this is maximum, okay, so maximum determine the nature. Okay, what you're going to do is usually you can sketch a graph to show that the nature is maximum point. Okay, so we're going to do it this way. Okay, first step, okay, you draw a table first. Okay, you can draw a table so that easy for you to prove, okay, that this is a maximum point. So value of x, we write the first row, then the value of dy dx. Okay, then we will sketch the tangent. Okay, whether the tangent is straight or the tangent is uh, curving. Okay, and the last part is the sketch of the curve. Okay, now when you have all this, okay, so here we will have 3 columns, this part. Okay, okay, so I hope you can see. Let me just move a little bit more. Okay, the value of x. Okay, the value of x, you can start from the value negative 1 over 2, but put the negative 1 over 2 in the middle. Okay, this x comes from here. That's now the x that we got. Okay, when your x is negative 1 over 2, what is your dy dx? Your dy dx just now was 0. That's why you got negative 1 over 2. Okay, look back here. Okay, because dy dx was 0. Okay, then only you got the x negative 1 over 2. Okay, so now it's going to be dy dx is 0. Okay, choose any value that is lesser than negative 1 over 2. So meaning that I'm going to choose negative 1. You can choose any value, okay, that is lesser. Choose lesser than uh, negative 1 over 2. Choose lesser than this. So I choose negative 1. Now substitute the negative 1 inside the dy dx. Okay, that's now the dy dx was negative 4 minus 8x. So you substitute negative 1 in. So negative 4 minus minus 8, negative 1, we get positive 4. So the value here is positive 4. Okay, now choose a value that is more than negative 1 over 2. Any value. So I can choose 0. Okay, now substitute 0 inside dy dx. dy dx equals to negative 4 minus 8, 0. So I get negative 4. So here the value is negative 4. Okay, now let's sketch the tangent. Okay, if you have a positive value, okay, your graph goes up. If you have 0, your graph is straight like this, stagnant. If you have negative value, your graph goes down. So overall, your curve will be like this. Okay, so this is how you determine the nature of your turning point. So therefore, negative 1 over 2 and 36 is a maximum point. Okay, so this is how you prove, or this is how you actually show the nature of turning point. Okay, now let's look at another one, which will have a minimum point. Okay, now let's look at question 2. Okay, you're given y, this function equals to x power of 4 minus 8. Okay, and from here you are to determine the coordinates. Same question, determine the coordinates, and also determine whether the point is maximum or minimum. Okay, so first step, find the dy dx. Okay, the gradient first. So here it will be 4x cubed. Okay, done. After you find the gradient, you're going to let your gradient equal to 0. Okay, so 4x cubed equal to 0. So x cubed equals to 0. X we will get 0. Okay, so since x is 0, now we can find y. y will be, substitute the 0 into the function. So 0 power of 4 minus 8. So y will be negative 8. So your turning point, okay, already got ready, yeah, which is 0, negative 8. Okay, done. Now the second part is you need to determine the nature, right? Whether it's maximum or minimum. So we know it's going to be a minimum point because the value of a here is positive. But how do you show it? So you can write, okay, you can start by doing your table first. Okay, here you have value of x. Okay, always start with value of x. Then you have value of dy dx. Okay, very simple. Then the third one, sketch the tangent. Okay, sketch of tangent. And the last one will be the sketch of the curve, because we just want to prove how come this can be a minimum point or even a maximum point. We are going to prove this. Okay, so this one divide into three columns. Okay, row and columns. Yeah. All right. Now first step, write down first here what is your value of x. Just now the value of x that we got was 0. Okay, so I'm going to write 0 first here in the middle. Okay, then choose any value that is lesser than 0, anything. So I'll choose negative 1. That's the nearest, easy for me. And also choose any value that's greater than 0. So I choose 1. Okay, now substitute negative 1 inside the dy dx. So dy dx equals to 4 times negative 1 power of 3. So I'll get negative 4. Now substitute 0. I think 0 we already know. We got the value of dy dx is 0. Okay. Then substitute x1. Okay, substitute x1 means dy dx equals to 4 times 1 power of 3. So here I will get 4. Okay, so now if it's a negative graph, the graph goes like this, your tangent. Okay, if it's 0, like this, and if it's positive value dy dx goes up. Okay, like that. So overall your graph is going to be a smiling graph. So you already determine the nature. So for this point, okay, 0, negative 8 has a minimum, sorry, not has, is a minimum point. Okay, because 0, negative 8 is the point one. Okay, is a minimum point. So that's all for turning point and finding the nature. Okay, until I see you in the next class. Okay, keep practicing at maths. And do leave a comment if you feel that this is helpful. Do share this with a friend. Until I see you next time. Bye.